Hey everybody, Scaredy Cat here. I am on a nice walk. This is officially part of my self-care. Get the blood pumping. I am recording this video today to tell you about my experience going into a mental health clinic for TMS. And if you don't know what TMS is called transcranial magnetic stimulation. It's not something I've ever done before. But the FDA approved it in 2018, I believe, for OCD. As I wrote my last post, I had a pretty bad experience with my last relationship, and I was blaming it all on OCD. I'm about 1 week after this breakup, or 2 weeks now, and I don't feel sad at all. I feel relief, and no offense to that guy, but I don't know if it was OCD's fault. I think that relationship was just not good for me. And this is a weird realization because I tend to blame everything on OCD. It's an easy scapegoat and it's always there. You know, it jumps in when I'm more stressed than other times. So when I was super stressed about this relationship, the OCD just took that and ran with it. And that is when I started looking into, a ton of different solutions for OCD, right? Like I've already done a ton of treatment. I already done a lot of therapy, but I was like, okay, I got to save this relationship. I got 2 more therapists. I started looking into TMS, which is basically them using I'm not going to be able to describe this right, but a magnet to stimulate the nerves in your brain, the areas of the brain where OCD most affects us. And I'm not entirely sure how it works, but I was desperate and I just wanted to do whatever it took. So I went into the office today and I kind of had a feeling, the last 2 weeks I felt more positive and just more like my OCD just went completely quiet. Like it got me out of that relationship and then it went completely quiet. So part of me thinks it may have saved me a little bit, but I had kind of a feeling that this wasn't going to go super well. I wasn't sure if this was going to be for me, but I went in and basically the doctor, first of all, they didn't have the coil that they needed for me today, which was unfortunate, but the doctor, specifically this conversation was what bothered me. He was supposed to be a specialist, but he kept asking me, so do you have hand washing compulsions? And I'm like, kind of, but it's not really that for me. It's the mental compulsions, right? If you call it pure OCD or, mental compulsions. And for me, that's the majority of mine, right? I have these obsessions, but I don't always do anything. I avoid things. And most of the time it's the reassurance in my brain, right? I assure myself like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not the kind of person I am. That's not what's going to happen. Or I scan my body for sensations, right? Or trying to find evidence contrary to my fear. Or I basically, I could either, I might confess to somebody or write it in a journal or something like that. Scan, my memories and my relationship, for example, to find, oh no, he brought me flowers on this day. Of course he loves me, right? So it's stuff like that I was doing on my own. About to walk past some people. This is going to be a nice exposure. Okay. Anyway, so that's what I was, doing a lot of the time. And so I was describing this to the doctor, right? And it shouldn't have been that big of a deal. But, he kept asking me over and over again. He's like, but do you wash your hands? Like, do you check locks? Do you, tap yourself or like count or anything like that? I'm like, no, I'm trying to explain. Like for me, it's mental compulsions. And so the whole reason I'm sharing this video is to say for anybody out there who is not sure if they have OCD, I would definitely consult with a mental health professional who gets OCD, like who really, really gets it. If you feel like you're not being heard, then you're probably not talking to the right person. With pure OCD or, if you have multiple mental compulsions, you could be sitting in a chair staring at a wall and no one would know, right? No one would know what's going on in your head. You might not even know because it happens so fast, right? You might just be feeling like completely anxious and overwhelmed. And so I did get anxious and overwhelmed at this facility. And I just ended up being like, I'm out of here. I didn't feel safe, I didn't feel safe. Like if they don't know what it is, I had to explain it for about 30 minutes. I don't think that was the right fit. So I'm not making this video to bag on TMS. I still think it might be a wonderful idea and probably helps a lot of people. I just don't have experience with it, and I don't think this is the time for me or the place for me to do it. So mostly I'm showing this video that to make sure you're not feeling alone if you mostly have these mental compulsions or mental obsessions. If someone says, well, they're just thoughts, right? Those are just obsessions. Be like, nah, it's not just that. It's, I have a thought, an anxious thought, an obsession, and then my mind compulsively looks for evidence to the contrary of that. It doesn't always mean that I'm doing something physical. So yeah, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I am going to be looking for other ways to help my brain feel more balanced and my life feel more balanced. Feeling pretty good though. Yeah, you are not alone. And I hope you have a wonderful week.